Hi, welcome to Taya Talk. I am here today with Julie Mallory, who is the host of the Rainbows Are Circles podcast, where we met, and recent Taya Bootcamp graduate. And we have we're actually doing your testimonial this week too, right?
We are, because last time we tried to do it, we just ended up talking for half an hour. So
Yeah, so I
we'll
guess
do
it's
it
good that we're
this
doing a
time.
Taya Talk because we can just talk on Taya Talk and then we can save your testimonial for a separate recording. And then your testimonial will be out probably in a few weeks. We're several weeks behind in publishing our testimonials right now. So we're getting them, we're getting caught up on all of our bootcamp testimonials. But you are a recent graduate. We met on your podcast, Rainbows Are Circles. And then after that, you got into bootcamp right after that.
I did,
Yeah.
probably that week or the next week.
Yeah, it was really, really cool experience just getting to know you in boot camp, seeing your progress and your continued progress with the practice now that you're out. We can dig into all that today. And I know you have some questions for the stream, so we're going to bring the stream in. Those of you that are logging on and watching, I see you all starting to pop on. If you have questions for the stream, type them in. We may or may not get to every single question, but generally, if we set the intention to have a fantastic interaction with the stream, which we always do, then the questions end up getting answered whether they're read directly or not. So just pay attention to what's being shared, and you will get an answer to your question. And it's good to see some of you signing on. Hi, Erica and Deborah. Good to see you, and Diana. And I believe it's Diana's birthday. Happy birthday, Diana!
Happy
So
birthday.
you get stream channeling for your birthday. So if you have questions, type them in, and I'm sure that we will get to them. I see Elisha. Good to see you, Elisha. All right, so Julie, what's the topic today? Let's tee up the topic. What do you want to talk to the stream about?
Whoa, what's the topic today? So I think it would be cool to dive into the different ways that people connect with their stream, because I know it's a little bit different from person to person. Some people can do it really easily through meditation. Other people, like myself, I find my connection to stream more through connecting with nature, going on walks, even just doing things like reading books, really anything that brings me a sense of calm and joy. Um, and I think this is an important topic because when I was going through boot camp, I found it frustrating when I wasn't able to connect with my stream through meditation because my mind was always, it was all often racing and it was hard for me to get to that point. So different ways that we can connect through stream to stream, and also different ways that people detune, because that can also look different from person to person. And it's important to know that it doesn't have to look like any one certain way.
I think that's a fantastic topic or topics to get into with the stream. So why don't we do what we do? And there's a lot of you signing on now, so this is great. The more, the better. Collective consciousness power, right? Let's take a moment to quiet our minds, to do a group meditation, unless you're driving, and you're probably not watching this if you're driving anyway, so it's okay. I always say that on the podcast. And let's set an intention for the stream to come through and to answer all these questions and everything else that is on everyone's mind. And be sure to type your questions in directly as well. Your comments and questions and stuff help this flow as well. So let's do a meditation, set an intention for the stream to come and deliver exactly what we need right now. And then Julie will take over as host, and it will all be about her in the stream and all of you. Be right back. We are here.
Welcome, stream. Good morning. Thank you for being here with us. Today, we have some questions around the process of connecting with you or with our version of the stream. This can look different from person to person. And I think it's important to address different ways that people connect with the stream. especially if they're finding it difficult to. So what do you have for us in terms of, how we can easily connect with our own version of stream?
We will begin by sharing that our energy flows through all creation, and by flow we do not mean flow in and flow out. The flow is constant. We are omnipresent. We are omnipresent within all of you. You indeed all have your own version of this. The connection is never really lost. Your human consciousness can drown out the connection. Your ego can enhance or drown out the connection. You are in a polarized environment. Therefore, there is polarity on all topics, including your own version of this. The clearest way, the for lack of a better human terminology, the easiest way for all of you to allow your natural source connection to be realized at any time is to love and appreciate yourselves. That deep love and authentic appreciation of all that you are, that is the love that we hold for you. And when you are in alignment with that, when you are thinking that way, when you are feeling that way about yourselves, you know that you are connected. And notice how you have perhaps been taught by your society to separate yourself from that connection, to judge yourselves against a human created ideal, to judge yourselves perhaps as not worthy, to feel not worthy of our energy, to feel not worthy of love or abundance at times. This is a product of vibrational flow. And a certain degree of that is natural in a polarized environment. Most of you who are following our teachings are becoming more and more aware that this vibrational flow, this journey up and down your virtual vibrational spirals, is what expands you. It is what creates your reality for you, because it motivates you through a series of both wanted and unwanted creation. And those of you that follow these teachings are coming to understand that your unwanted creations serve the great purpose of inspiring new positive creation. And that is how you expand as a strand of eternal consciousness, as a consciousness being. And your expansion of consciousness contributes to our expansion of consciousness, because you are part of that which we are part of you. There is no separation, not really. But that ego consciousness, when you go down your spiral into lower vibrational territory, you are separating yourselves. And the more you go down the spiral, the more you are separated, all the way down to what you might call complete despair. And in that state of despair, you are in such pain and such suffering in that state of despair that you want your being to cease to be. Most of you do not stay in that space for very long, but you are aware that some do. And some end their physical journeys believing that that's going to cause the pain to stop and that they're going to cease to be. But that does not have to be the case. In fact, our message for humanity is very much to enjoy your trips up and down the spiral, to understand that you are never really separate from us, and that all of your human programming is programming of contrast. Again, in a polarized environment, there's going to be what you would consider positive and negative on every single topic, and that is an aspect of physical that drives new creation. The core of our message is to share with all of humanity that the negative, the unwanted, all of the suffering, all of the things that you fear, that you judge as unwanted, and when we say you, we are speaking to all of humanity. All of that is judged against a human standard, a human construct. And we are guiding you to question those things more and more and more. The questioning has already begun. The mass questioning has been going on for quite some time. This is why you're seeing your institutions of control beginning to fracture and even crumble. Notice that all of your human created institutions are coming under fire, are coming under question by humanity. And in doing so, they're unraveling. And there are some that are operating at a vantage point of lower on the spiral that are fearful of this unraveling. They believe this is the end of humanity, perhaps, or the end of your planet. And there is so much judgment and fear attached to all of that. But others are using this time, this expansive time, as an awakening time. And those of you that are choosing a journey of awakening are coming to understand via our teachings and others more and more and more that all of the things that you demonize, all of the things that you judge as negative, all of the things that you allow to create your own suffering as an individual strand of consciousness and as a collective, all of those things are a matter of opinion and in a reaction to something that has transpired. And they can all be reframed by you. And in your reframing them and your stepping away from the judgment that you're taught to do, notice how much judgment you have all been taught. You're taught to judge your appearance against some ideal that someone came up with. But why is that the ideal? You are taught to judge your wealth, your income, your status, your relationship. You are taught to judge every aspect of you against this human created ideal. And when you detune judgment systematically in your being, you stop that judgment, perhaps momentarily, because everything is vibrational. Things have a way of coming back around as you clear out the dust, if you will, again and again and again. But notice that the power of judgment becomes less and less and less and less in your being with your practice of these teachings. You detune fear, you detune judgment. And as you detune fear and judgment, you are detuning the judgment around self. You are finding that as you detune fear and judgment, that ability to love and appreciate automatically increases. And in that ever increasing desire for more feeling good, more joy, less judgment, less fear, you begin to build momentum in that direction. And your natural source connection begins to be more realized by you more of the time. And soon, you do not even remember how you were not long ago in your old state of being. You catch glimpses every once in a while where you remember that you used to be depressed and sad and down and judgmental of yourselves much more. And now you are feeling joy more of the time. You are able to appreciate small things throughout your day every single day. And you are coming to understand that that appreciation of the life journey without judgment brings more to appreciate. And soon you are seeing that you are able to create joy and clarity regardless of where you stand. And from that state of joy and clarity, you are finding that abundance is beginning to flow. That is your source connection. That is your allowing of your natural state of abundance to be realized. That is what is available to each and every being in your environment. That is the way of the universe. But as beings step out of their natural state of development and become more or less mutations of their environment, as humanity has done, your intelligence increases. And as your intelligence increases, very often that expansion of intelligence is driven by the separation from source. You create more problems for yourselves to solve. And suddenly you get ahead of the creation where you come back around to your original realization that you indeed create your own realities. And in doing so, begin to understand that you are essentially the same technology that you are now creating. That is where humanity is standing in what you are considering your now, this current level of sophistication that you are experiencing. It is a magical time to be on earth as a human being indeed. That is why we flow the way that we do. That is why you are all finding your paths to these teachings. Because as you find your paths to these teachings and you begin to absorb them, life starts to make more sense. And you can relax around the experience. You can relax into everything that you've encountered, everything that you've created for yourselves. You can relax into everything that you witness going on around you without fear and without judgment. And you find the more that you listen and the more that you believe and the more that you allow your natural source connection to be realized. And we say believe, we are speaking to your belief in yourselves, in your worthiness, in your expression of source, that which you truly are. When you come into full realization of that, you become unstoppable. Your experiences are boundless, and your appreciation of self and all that is something that has rarely been manifested across humanity. But when it is a very potent and very powerful creative force.
That was beautiful. I was talking with Deborah Wilson yesterday. I was interviewing her for my podcast, and we were talking about how we already are, like, we already are ourselves. We already are like the most amazing beings we can possibly be. It's like we are like the sun that's always shining, but on a sunny day, like sometimes the clouds come in, and so it actually looks kind of gray and foggy outside, but that doesn't actually mean that the sun isn't shining anymore. It always is. And we're kind of the same way. Like we're always these amazing beings, but experiences from our past, things that we feel hurt or traumatized by, those are the things that create these limiting beliefs that cover up like our true nature. And so that's what the Thai practice is all about, like detuning those things that are covering up who we really are. So I'd like to jump into the process of detuning a little bit, but before we do that, you mentioned that despair and when we're down our spiral is really our disconnection from source and disconnection from the love of ourselves. So does that mean that when people are depressed and in despair and they're not loving themselves, then the remedy to that is to love themselves more? Like if you are feeling depressed and in despair, doing things to love yourself more.
It is true that that is the remedy. We will back up through some of your sharing and guide all of you to understand that yes, you enjoy and appreciate the sunshine, but the fastest way to bring yourselves to a state of joy on a cloudy day is to also appreciate the clouds.
Mm.
The down the spiral time and in the state of being down, the magic of vibrational flow is that you are a different being when you are down your spiral than you are when you are up. This is why your behavior can change dramatically, and certainly your feelings, your emotions change dramatically depending on where you are on your spiral. But understand that you are not here to cure vibrational flow. You are not here to cure polarity. You exist in a non-polarized environment outside of vibrational flow in your eternal state of being. And that is the wholeness of that which you all are. However, you are having this experience as a human being in a polarized physical environment. And in this polarized physical environment of contrasts, you are operating in vibrational flow. And that vibrational flow is going to take you down your spiral on occasion. That is your cloudy day, if you will. And when you are down there and you are in what has been labeled as a spin out, a prolonged period of being down your spiral, that can be identified as a depressed state of being. In that spin out state, those of you who have experienced this, and we are aware that you all have, that just loving yourselves is not necessarily readily available to you. You need to get the wheels moving of appreciation. And that is why we deliver these TIA tools to all of you, because these TIA tools give you the tools to get those wheels spinning, to get yourselves moving back up that spiral. And it is somewhat of a delicate balance, as most of you are aware, because when you find yourselves down your spiral and not loving yourselves, and in this down state, if you will, trying to claw your way up and believing that you need to move up quickly, very often is counterproductive. Very often that is what creates the spin out. The prolonged period of being down is believing that there's something wrong with being down and judging it. So the first step, before you try to dip into thinking about how magnificent your being is, start learning to just appreciate the natural process of being in physical, which includes being down on occasion. Appreciate the down. You're not going to appreciate it on the same level necessarily as being up, especially not when you begin this practice. But a little bit of appreciation, going back to the word trust. The word trust is the most valuable word, regardless of the language that is spoken. The word for trust in the English language, we are utilizing David's vocabulary, so we are communicating to you in English. The word trust is the most valuable word that you have. Because if you have nothing else, when you are down your spiral and when you are in a spin out, when you can find that little morsel of trust in the process, that starts the wheel spinning in the right direction, the direction back up your spiral. And when we say the right direction, the direction that you are desiring, because whatever you're creating while you're down there, when you detune the judgment of it and you appreciate it, you begin to go back up your spiral. And once you get above neutral, you are then capable of new creation, because you are then capable of new thought. When you are below neutral on your spiral, as we teach it, you are not capable of new thought nor new creation, not desired creation. You are down there creating things that you do not want. You are down there creating things by default. You are creating delays in the things that you desire, even canceling them out, if you will, to use human terminology. But your desired creations are all going to occur when you get above neutral. So you are always going to go down your spiral and create obstacles. It is part of the process. But how often you do that and how you experience that, you have complete control to transform that. How often you're going down, how you experience going down, how much you're judging being down, how your spin outs are serving your expansion. And the more you trust the process, the more you are able to relax into that and to find joy even in the down. It is possible. It is absolutely possible. This is your original operating system. Understand that humanity, along the developmental timeline, if you were thinking in linear time, and you all do, the developmental timeline of humanity, think about how much time humanity spent evolving to the state of consciousness that you currently experience. And then think of the little sliver of time that you've allowed yourselves to be controlled by institutions and rules and boundaries and labels. That is a speck of time, but that catapulted you to a whole other vibrational territory. The creation of technology and the gaining of knowledge, the coming together and comparing of ideas like never before for humanity. That is the place that you have arrived at in your sophistication, where you are now able to question all of those elements of control. And notice when you start peeling away the layers of your elements of control, there's yet another layer, yet another layer, yet another layer. All of these constructs that you all allow to take you down your spiral. Think about the things that tend to take you down there and hold you down there. Vibrational flow takes you down a bit, but the thing that is actually making it uncomfortable is the judgment of the vibrational flow, the judgment of what's not working, what you have yet to manifest, how you compare to what you have been told you're supposed to be. But as our promise to each and every one of you, what you're supposed to be is exactly what you are. From your eternal state of consciousness, You are expressing yourselves exactly how your source connected state of consciousness desired for you to be. And when you judge that as wrong, you don't feel good. And when you're not feeling good and you're not feeling joyful, you are disconnecting yourselves from our energy. And that does not have to be. That can be a very temporary disconnected experience of understanding that you are moving through a lower vibrational flow period. That can be in a moment, in part of your day, part of your week, month, year, or life. It is all a wormhole reflection. And when you're moving through this lower vibrational period, when you learn to trust the process, you are simply down your spiral. Or if you've prolonged that period, you are in a spin out. And as soon as you recognize it and appreciate it, you're going to begin to move in the opposite direction. You're going to go back up. You're going to change that downward momentum. But understand that momentum has to be built slowly. And that these monumental events that often human beings seek to catapult them up can be very disruptive, because your natural state of being is an ease of flow up and down your spiral as you move through vibrational flow.
Yeah, I love that you said that when we're down the spiral, like it's the releasing of the judgment that makes it so much more, it can be so much more enjoyable. Like it doesn't have to be such a big deal. And that was really big for me when I was going through the TIA boot camp, because I would go down my spiral, but over the course of like the several weeks, I actually started to learn to enjoy my down the spiral time. And it was like, I don't feel good right now. And I think it helped me to tune in and just be like, what do I need right now? And oftentimes it was like, I just need to rest, or I need to take a nap. I took a lot of naps and I take a lot of naps now. Or I need to go on a walk, or I need to journal. And then in that time of just slowing down and taking care of myself, I might, and like processing things, I might come up with some sort of insight when I'm taking a walk, or something when I'm journaling, or I might listen to like David's podcast and hear something that I needed to hear that day. And so it's like, if we allow ourselves to just not judge that down the spiral time and do whatever it is that we feel kind of guided to do, we just naturally come across things that are going to help us sort of move naturally up the spiral again.
The flow up and down your spiral is simply a natural state of being. The prolonged periods of down are all rooted in the judgment of being down. All suffering is a matter of judgment. All suffering. That is, as soon as you begin a thought process of this should not be, this is not where I'm supposed to be, this is not what I'm supposed to be experiencing, that thought process is the very thing that is creating the suffering in the moment and holding you there in a prolonged period of time. Because it is just as natural for you to flow out of a lower vibrational flow as it is for you to flow down. That up and down, that never ends. We were sharing recently that the symbol for infinity,
Mm.
that never ending loop, that is a sign of vibration, high to low into infinity. That
Mm.
created everything that is, that is the source of all creation, of that high to low. You would never have a high if there was not a low. You would never have things that you appreciate and enjoy and desire to experience in physical expressions of that which we are, if you did not separate from them on occasion and have something to compare them to. And in your human discernment, which is indeed a form of judgment, but it is discernment, the discernment of preferences, you prefer this and not that. That is a natural aspect of any physical environment, and the earth environment has its own vibration of that. And that discernment of preference can then simply lead you to appreciate knowing what you prefer and what you do not. And in that knowing, simply moving through that process infinitely, and understanding that your life is something that is an experience of consciousness that you are perceiving as a linear experience, because that adds to the very experience of it. But the The judgment of this should not be is what creates the suffering. And when you learn to stop that judgment and learn to stop comparing yourselves to all of these human constructs, you experience more joy. Your ability to trust arrives and continues to build momentum. And soon you're finding yourselves trusting no matter what, no matter where you are in this process, you are able to trust and your life becomes more joyful. And what happens, and this is very important, what happens, you reach this tipping point where you no longer experience need. When you no longer experience need and you are trusting and you are finding your paths to joy, regardless of where you are in the process, and you no longer need anything to be joyful, then all of the things that you wish to experience start to flow in, because you are then realizing your natural state of abundance. The practice that has been developed around our teachings is all about shifting your human consciousness to an operating system that works in harmony with this universal process of creation. Because humanity has developed a mindset practice that works counter to all of that. And you all see the evidence of that when you are told that your government is the thing that you need to depend on for your well-being, and your religions are giving you rules that you must follow, and if you do not follow them you are not included anymore, and all of these things that have been created by humanity caused an advance of humanity, and now they have become obsolete. Humanity is coming to understand that that served a purpose for a while. Once again, we are guiding you to release your judgment of all of that, to not judge the generations that came before as wrong or misguided, to not look back on things and label them as cringeworthy in your now. You are in a different vibrational state. That occurs very often. You go back in time and you view something, a writing or a video or something of a different time, and you judge it from your current time standards. But
Yeah,
that
that's
was
not
a
really fair.
time that it was offered. And the judgment of that holds no creative power for you. The appreciation of it, however, does. But humanity teaches the reverse. You have a saying across humanity that is quite popular, that if you don't remember the past, you're doomed to repeat it. But notice that the focusing on the energy of the past causes it to stay alive.
Hmm.
With enough focus and enough momentum, these traumatic events of the past tend to come back around in different forms. You don't forever solve a problem by continuing to harp on it. And this is
Okay.
true for humanity, and this is true for all of you.
That's very interesting because I was in I think it was in Munich or Frankfurt a couple years ago, and they actually have a museum called the Holocaust Museum or something like that. And it's, I mean, the idea is that, you know, if we remember the terrible things that happened, we won't be doomed to repeat them again. So you're saying that that actually isn't necessarily the best way to go about it.
Depends on the vibration that is present.
Mm.
Humanity, as time goes by, very often the emotion around such events softens simply because you've moved through enough vibrational flow. But if you view something like that and continue to demonize it and really focus on it, what happens is it becomes so painful that you inevitably turn away from it. And we are speaking of you individually and as a collective, and generally that's how we communicate. So the focus on something like that and the demonization of it and the getting down in the muck of it, if you will, and really beating the drum of this was terrible, this was awful, should not be, that becomes such a painful thing to hold yourselves in that you naturally begin to turn away from it. You may go visit a space such as that, you may absorb it, you may absolutely discern a preference to never have anything like that happen to you or anyone else again. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you move on to other topics. You go about your day. You may be a little changed in the moment or even forever changed, but you do not hold yourselves in the pain, in the muck of it.
Okay. Yeah.
That is the difference, because there are
Okay.
some events that reach such a pinnacle that becomes so monumental that you cannot possibly hold yourselves in opposition to it in a prolonged period. You have to get off the subject, so to speak, because you are going up and down your vibrational spiral no matter what. And those that tend to hold themselves in anger over something like that make that a reality in their life experience. Notice the ones who make their life's work to battle, 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 very often see examples of that expressing themselves through their life experience. But most of you do not do that. Most of you observe, you discern a preference away from such an event, and then you move on about your lives. So you're not holding yourselves there. But that idea that you must hearken back to it and feel the pain of it again and again and again and again is not as productive as you believe it is.
Yeah, and it's not good to also make ourselves feel bad and feel guilty over and over again for something that happened in the past.
It keeps it alive.
Yeah.
It keeps the unwanted aspects of it alive. And you have examples on all topics, especially the ones that you consider significant in your world, of where negative aspects of these periods for humanity keep revealing itself in different ways. Notice that topic of the Holocaust never completely got solved. There are still things of that nature occurring in your environment. It did not completely solve it. It simply sprung up in different ways in different places and continues to live on. You can look at all of your recorded history and really dig into it and see examples of that. Beings continuing to label and separate themselves and drawing in more marginalization, if you will, because of the focus on what happened in the past. Instead of looking toward the future and feeling worthiness, as some do, and seeing that a handful begin to break free of any oppression, and then more, and then more, and then more. This is energy momentum building. This is the Earth environment is an expression of the energetic realm. So you're absolutely always going to see things get solved in time, but you can move much faster to solving by focusing on what is desired and what is not. And of course, you all hold the capacity to change this reality in your own experiences. Notice that there are some that pay great attention to everything that's wrong with the world, and that becomes their experience. And there are others
Mhm.
that pay very little attention to what is being labeled as wrong with the world, and that becomes their experience. And there is no duty for you to do either. Your life experience is your choice without any judgment from us. We are not projecting in a path for you or a set of rules or anything of that nature. All of that is human creation. In fact, you are all here to create. You are here for the purpose of creating what's next in a physical expression, but much more importantly, the physical expression is just a perceived byproduct of the new vibration that you all create when you face something that you perceive as a dilemma or problem and choose to solve it by evolving beyond it, by solving it through technology. However, you allow that manifestation of the change, the perception of the problem or the deficiency is the first step in all new creation. And your creation in physical is the expression or the byproduct of the energetic creation. And the energetic creation creates your expansion as a strand of consciousness. And your expansion as a strand of consciousness is contributing to the expansion of our consciousness. That is the purpose of all physical environments. That is your purpose as a physical being. As far as your desired purpose, that can be anything that you choose. In fact, the more you learn to work with vibrational flow, the more you learn to detune your transgressors and systematically raise your default vibration, the more you detune fear around what you can manifest as your life experience. And then anything that you desire can become your purpose if you so desire. And your purpose can also be simply experiencing joy as a physical being. This idea that you all have to create something massive, that is yet another human construct. There are plenty of you that will create massive things no matter what. But if you're judging yourself and thinking that now that you have these magical tools that we are delivering to you, Now that we have completely closed the gap for all of you on the process of creation, you are all here at the forefront of this thought. We do not want to guide you back into the muck by leading you to believe that you have to create the next big thing for your world. That is completely up to you. Your contribution of absorbing this knowledge, comprehending it, and even just sharing it out with those who are interested is doing massive benefit for humanity's expansion. Massive. And humanity is asking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to like do something huge and like really impactful for a lot of people. But sometimes the best thing we can do is just be people that we can be, and we will naturally we will naturally raise our vibration and shine that light, and that's maybe that's enough.
The birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees all hold the key to universal creation without the disruption of an advanced intelligence such as humanity. They are completely at peace just being that which they are. And they are contributing to the expansion of the environment just as you are. And when their life journey is over with in physical, their physical vehicles will feed the planet, will feed the earth environment. And they will have fulfilled their mission as exactly what they were in physical, in the expression, in the experience. You can all do that. You can just be. You can just be a joyful being for the sake of being a joyful being. We are not assigning any great task to any of you. That is your preference. If your preference is to be the next Bezos or Steve Jobs or something of that nature, you can manifest that as well. But understand there is so much human programming that goes into that. That you have to be something that is considered great and written about and storied for centuries. That is your choice. That is your preference. You hold the keys to be that and have that and do that if you so choose. All of you. All of you. But are you vibrationally up to the task? Is that your true desire as a being? We are not judging you. And as our promise to you, regardless of how you operate this life experience, you expand your consciousness in the process. There is absolutely no getting life wrong. Even though humanity may be telling you that, those of you that are absorbing these teachings are coming more and more and more to understand that anything that you judge yourselves against, if that judgment is present, that is human programming. And you hold the capacity to detune all human programming and develop your own operating system, your natural operating system, one where abundance is naturally realized by you and life is joyous and the process of creation is trusted, even if you are moving through a lower vibrational period.
Yeah, I think it's also just important for us to allow ourselves to, I don't know why I'm saying this, but it's important for us to allow ourselves to love what we love and to be who we are and to do what we want to do. There's so much pressure and judgment to like be certain ways and to do certain things. And it's like, we got to detune that.
You are expansive, free, eternal beings in your completed state. There is no beginning and no end to that which you are. You are an expression of us, and you are expressing yourselves as an independent strand of consciousness in what you perceive as the earth environment, and you are having a very tactile perceived experience. And the value for your expansion is contained in this experience. That is why when folks come and ask us about ETs and past lives and all of these things, we direct you back to your current experience. All of those things exist in their own way, but the value for your human journey is in your human journey. And all of the knowledge of all of that, all of those other experiences that are infinite, all of that is available to you in your source connection. It all is. Your human consciousness drowns most of that out by design so that you can focus on the human journey, so that you can be impacted by contrast, so that you can come and experience pain and judgment and fear and all of these emotions, understand what that feels like, and then understand that the prison that very often locks you in until you find the keys to get out. These teachings are the keys to get out. Absolutely. And those of you that absorb these teachings and in turn and apply them in your lives, prove that to yourselves. We will never, never, we do not use the term never, but we will never guide you to any specific next thing for you other than a path back to joy. Because everything that you want and even more is available in your love of self, in your joyful state of being. But understand that that is not 100% of your experience in the earth environment. And more and more and more of you are beginning to understand what we are sharing because you are intrigued by it. Our words speak to you because they are already exist in you. And if that ever stops, we guide you to turn away. There is no dogma in these teachings. There is no absolute that you must follow what the stream is telling you to do, or you're going to be damned to some purgatory or something of that nature. That is all human creation. And in fact, you create your own versions of hell in your earth environment. You understand that you create that for yourselves while you are physical, but you're expansive beings. You want to experience. And the down the spiral, the spun out, the prolonged, the depressed experience from your eternal perspective is indeed an experience. It is an experience of expansion. It is like we liken it to a weekend trip. You go off on a weekend trip. If it's not a good weekend trip, it does not necessarily impact the rest of your life experience. You sit around and laugh about it, especially in time. That distance of consciousness is experienced the same way in your eternal state of being. There is no wrong way to come and be human, regardless of how many years or what is done or how you are labeled by humanity. There is no wrong way. And all these ideas of nothing but love and light and nothing but positive and happy, that has some value of soothing, certainly. And we understand that. But when you really want to get into it, when you really want to be authentically joyful and authentically loving of all that is, it is all about detuning the transgressor energy that you have all created for yourselves. We use the word transgressor frequently because you understand what it means. But you also understand that all of your transgressors are your own creation in your judgment of them. And when you learn to detune the judgment around them, the entire transgressor experience, regardless of what it is or what it was, begins to shift. That is your path out of trauma. That is your path out of abusive situations. That is your path out of anything that is something that you are discerning is not your preference in your life experience. And we understand that those that have traveled far down a path and have built momentum in a certain direction, it takes effort to change that because the pattern of thought is such that needs to be disrupted. And sometimes you have to take yourselves out of a situation physically and separate yourselves to be able to build that positive momentum. So we are not guiding you to stay in the path of abuse if you're in the path of abuse or something that you discern is significantly not your preference. But you all hold the capacity to heal and to change momentum and to change directions and completely reinvent your experience. You are your own avatars. Therefore, you hold the capacity to write new code for yourselves in a new operating system and start seeing your changed life populate around you.
Okay, now I have like a million new questions. Maybe we can do another session at some point because we're running low on time. But I would, in the future, I'd like to ask you about. I know that you already did a session on personal codes, but that I have a lot of questions about that, and also detuning, which we didn't get too deep into today. But I think a lot of really awesome stuff came out of this, and that it was exactly how it was meant to be. And before we bring David back in, Are there any final words that you'd like to share with us?
We will circle back into detuning because in this interaction, there are some questions around that. And it's very important that everyone who is interacting with this, regardless of whether it is in your now or in the future, we very much want you to understand that the power of detuning lies in the radical appreciation of all that is, meaning the appreciation of the transgressor. Anytime you are demonizing or judging something as this should not be or this should not have been, they should have not done this to me, that should have not been done that way, I should have not made that mistake, I should not be this way right now. That is all transgressor energy. That is all like you're placing weights on yourselves in your vibrational journey, and you're weighting yourselves down, and you are operating in a lower vibrational state of being with all of these weights added to you. And the detuning process is systematically picking up one of those weights and zooming out and aligning yourselves with our perspective of love and appreciation for all that is, and zooming in with that perspective and claiming a degree of ownership of the co-creation of the transgressor experience. There is so much power in you releasing the vibration of victimhood. In fact, that is one of the things that tends to stifle you most across humanity, because you've all been told that you are victims, that is not your fault, that everything is by chance, and that you're lucky or not, or blessed or not, and that these things were done to you, and that the ones doing them were evil and monsters and terrible, and that you had nothing to do with it. That robs you of your power to heal, and certainly is robbing you from your power to create more in your favor in the future. Because when you see yourselves as victims and you build momentum in the direction of I am a victim, you are going to continue to experience being a victim. But when
Mm.
you take these weights off and you zoom out and you look at them a little differently and you look for things to appreciate in them, understanding that your point of attraction is not just about your desires or your deservedness. That's a big one. Your
Mm.
point of attraction is about your vibrational flow. You are operating in vibrational flow from conception. So you are attracting both positive and negative, wanted and unwanted things from the time that you were conceived. Certainly after birth, certainly as a very young child, as a thirsty sponge in your environment, absorbing all of it. You are absorbing through vibrational flow, and you are absorbing through the vibrational flow of the beings around you. So when your parents or your teachers or your grandparents or your siblings are down their spiral and treating you as such, that's going to inform your future point of attraction until you learn to change it. So taking those negative experiences and plucking them off the scale, if you will, the scale that's weighting you down, and viewing it through the lens of co-creation, understanding, looking at it and understanding, I created this through my lower vibrational flow. It is not because I wanted it. It is not because I deserved it. It is not because I am cursed nor blessed. And it is not because of anything that happened in a past experience. It simply was because I was operating in vibrational flow, learning to be a human being from my eternal state of consciousness. And I was absorbing my environment. By design, that environment is imperfect. That environment is one of contrasts. That environment is polarized. And because I was in a polarized environment, I attracted and co created this unwanted thing. That changes the energy, changes the vibration of that very event instantaneously. You've just moved up the spiral in claiming a little degree of ownership, even of things that happened to you when you're really young, because you're understanding now how you bring unwanted in. It's not the way that it is taught across humanity by and large. And when human beings begin discovering what you call the law of attraction, the biggest misconception around that, where most teachings do not go deep enough, is allowing the ones who are absorbing that information to also understand how you attract, that you're in vibrational flow, that you're not just wanting something and it just shows up in front of you every single time. That is not the universal process of creation at all. There is zero evidence of that in your environment. So, learning to pluck these little weights off and view them through the lens of appreciation and begin building some momentum in the direction of appreciation. Soon you will find yourselves completely and authentically and the authentic part is very important. Authentically appreciating your transgressors. And when you appreciate them authentically, and that becomes your new vibration, they cease to be transgressors. You've taken that weight off the scale and you have raised your vibration, your default vibration a bit. And then when you learn to systematically do that through every topic in your life experience and reimagine everything that you've encountered and everything that you are encountering as just an experience. Because in this environment, that's what it is. We wanted to circle around and dig into that point before we departed. With much love, that is what we have.
Thank you. Take a sip of that coffee, David.
Cold, bitter coffee that was hot when I said that.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Yeah.
Wow. That was really great.
Yeah. Isn't the stream cool?
The stream's so cool. I want the stream to be my BFF.
Yeah, and the tears are coming more and more now after the channeling. It's okay.
I feel very
All right.
like, buzzy.
I know. If you haven't watched this before, it's very buzzy after these interactions, so that's why we're a little weird when we come back. I'm not on anything. I'm on caffeine this morning, and that's it.
Cold
But
coffee.
it's a very heady experience to allow the stream to flow that way, and they're flowing just so profoundly these days that I'm just so excited to share this with the world. I really am. I really am. I am so in awe of all of you. It's kind of like I thought it was easy for me to be a student of their teachings because they're in my head almost all the time and pondering all these things. But the cool thing is that now I see more people getting into the practice and absorbing it and applying it and seeing it show up. So I'm in such deep appreciation of all of you who are practicing it, whether boot camp, not boot camp, pre-boot camp, that doesn't matter. What matters is that humanity is learning this practice because it is for all of humanity, all that are ready for it, for sure. All right. Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate you so much. I adore you. I can't wait to record your testimonial this week for boot camp. I think that you're just such a bright light that I can't wait to have you share your experience with everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, you can find us everywhere. The Stream of David, as the Stream of David, streamofdavid.com. We do have a couple of cool events coming up. Saturday, November 20th, we are doing a live masterclass starting at 9 a.m. Pacific. So you can sign up. We'll have sign up. If you're on our email list, mailing list, you'll have a sign up from there. You'll be able to sign up in the Tire Practice group. This is a live masterclass, and these, it's not just some little thing that we kind of dig into. We go up to 2 hours in these things. And you may think, gosh, 2 hours of my Saturday. But if you really want to dig into learning the Tire Practice, set aside 2 hours of undivided attention and come and hang out with us for 2 hours. We're going to go deep into the Taya practice. The reason it goes so long is we host a Q&A at the end. The last time we were on, we had like 65 people in the class with us. All 65 stayed to the end for 2 hours. 2 hours.
Saturday.
Like, they're all still on. This is great. So we do a Q&A at the end that is really, really cool. So you'll soon be able to sign up for that. So it's 9 a.m. on Saturday, November 20th. I hope I'm giving you the right dates. They'll be posted here in the group. Wherever you're watching us right now, we'll have some information. If you're watching us on YouTube, and I see a lot of you are, just make sure you're on our mailing list. You can go to thestreamofdavid.com. If you sign up for the free ebook, you get on the mailing list. If you go to the bottom of the page of thestreamofdavid.com, there's a place to sign up there as well. And then we also have our first live summit coming up. So save the date of Saturday, January 15th. If you are in or can be in the Los Angeles area, we're having our first live in-person summit since COVID. And we have this thing that we call super vibes when we do these summits in Zoom. It's just incredible, insane energy when we're all together, just raising the vibe. This is a 5-hour in-person event. Yes, we'll take a couple of breaks, but it's going to be near LAX. And we have the information coming next week for all of that as well. So save those 2 dates. our masterclass on November 20th, and then January 15th of 2022, our first live summit in 2 years, over 2 years actually, in LA. Hope you can make both. Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. I had a really good time.
And be sure to catch her podcast, Rainbows Are Circles, and anywhere podcasts can be found, right?
Yes, and I actually interviewed David. It was a and interviewed this. Well, I asked a question to the stream in my interview with David about realizing our worthiness, and it's a really good episode on that, and also on intentional manifestation. So, yeah, rainbowsarecircles.com or anywhere you can watch or listen to podcasts.
Very good. And thank you all for watching, whether you're watching now or in the future. We appreciate your support and your viewership. And just make sure you keep asking the questions of the stream. The more you want to know, the more inquisitive you are, the more this stimulates your imagination, understanding how the universal process of creation really works, how you can apply it in your life. We have tons and tons and tons of testimonials who have taken these teachings, applied it, and absolutely changed their lives. And I know we're all just getting started with this amazing practice. Thank you all so much.